If you like gemstones or crystals, you will love Pachyphytum compactum, aka Little Jewel. When I look at this succulent, I see a crystal formation. The colors, the pattern, the leaf shape is just chef's kiss. Really stunning. Compactum is native to Mexico but can be found in succulent collections around the world. As the name suggests, compactum is pretty compact and on the smaller side. The size will very much depend on the growing conditions and root space. Individual rosettes can grow to about 10 cm, though this succulent has a clumping habit, creating clusters of rosettes that can measure about 15 cm across. Compactum can grow a bit tall to about 15 to 20 cm, especially when grown in shaded spots. The leaves are very fleshy and kind of grow in a cone shape. They grow very tightly together and compact. The tips end in soft points and are usually a different color to the rest of the plant. All of the leaves are coated in a dusty substance called the farina. Farina is like a sunscreen for succulents and protects the plant from sunburn. Compactum is a beautiful dark chocolate and lavender color when stressed. White lines create a symmetrical pattern, giving it that jewel look. In the warmer months or when it's actively growing, the color will fade to a dark shade of green. This succulent will grow best outdoors in a bright sunny spot. It does tolerate outdoor shade and filtered light, but it may grow green, stretched out and leggy when it doesn't get enough sun. Fungal diseases are also more likely to attack when succulents are grown in shaded spots that are often more humid. Many succulents in the Pachyphytum genus are quite susceptible to fungal diseases and water-related issues such as edema. While compactum, in my experience, is a little more forgiving than other Pachyphytum we grow at the nursery, I'd still very much suggest providing a good sunny spot outdoors. Personally, I would not recommend growing it indoors as it's very likely it will not survive unless you have a big sunny window, a sunroom or plant growing lights. It should, however, tolerate overwintering and short stays indoors as long as it's kept in a super bright spot. It can be grown in pots outdoors as well as frost-free gardens. If grown in pots, repotting every year or so will ensure offsets and a happy plant. It does tolerate being root bound, but there may not be as many offsets, some of the bottom leaves are likely to die off and the plant may cease to grow. If you only get light frosts and no snow during winter, you can grow this succulent in the garden. Because it grows low to the ground, the best position in the garden would be around the edges where it cannot get overgrown by other plants. Bigger, more vigorous neighbors can easily smother it and cast a shadow that will cause leggy growth. When growing in the ground, you can help it establish by mixing any type of potting mix with the garden soil. The roots tend to be quite thin and can find it difficult to break through hard dirt. By cultivating and mixing in a bit of potting mix, you'll add nutrients and improve the soil structure. When growing succulents in the garden, it's best to choose a slope raised beds or a spot where water doesn't pool after the rain. In pots, compactum will thrive on good quality succulent potting mix. Succulent potting mix will have the right pH and nutrients tailored to succulent plants. As we discussed earlier, when growing in the garden, it's best to cultivate the soil by mixing in a bit of potting mix. We grow compactum outdoors all year round in my nursery, even during rainy periods. But for them to survive the rain, they need to be planted in well-draining potting mix and be in a sunny spot. If your climate is quite wet and humid, it may be best to bring it under cover when it rains heavily or keep it in a ventilated greenhouse. If you're ever worried, it's always best to err on the side of caution and bring succulents under cover during longer lasting rain. During dry weather or when growing under cover, allow the potting mix to dry out between waterings. In summer, this could mean watering a few times per week and almost not at all during the cold months. Compactum is drought tolerant and can survive without water for months. But in my opinion, it should not be left too dry for too long as it may start losing leaves. Temperature-wise, it will tolerate heat well over 40 degrees Celsius or 104 Fahrenheit, though it should be moved out of the sun once it gets this hot. If it's exposed to direct sun during extreme heat waves, the leaves can suffer sunburn and the plant could die, especially when planted in dark-colored pots. Compactum is not very frost-hardy but should tolerate mild frosts. It can, however, get frostburns and even die when temperatures drop below the freezing point for too long. If you only get the occasional frost, use frost cloth to protect your succulents. During deeper frosts or snow, bring this plant indoors for the duration. Compactum is super easy to propagate by taking cuttings of offsets from leaves and also by beheading. Technically, it's possible to propagate from seed, but in my opinion this is not a great alternative as seeds often fail, they are very slow and finding a good seed seller is difficult. If you want fast results, propagating offsets is the best method. The offsets may take time to grow, but once they do appear and grow a long enough stalk, they can be separated. Cuttings should be left to dry for about 24 hours before planting. This will give the wound a chance to heal and prevent harmful organisms from getting in. Once the wound is dry, they can then be planted into pots filled with succulent potting mix and transplanted into the garden or a bigger plot once enough roots develop. New roots should start growing in 2 to 4 weeks and the plant will be ready to transplant in approximately 2 to 3 months. If you want to grow loads, leaves can easily be propagated and have very good success rate. They are so easy to separate and rarely break, which is great. You can pretty much take any leaves, but in my opinion it's best to start at the bottom so the plant still looks nice once you're done. After separating a few, leave the leaves in a tray in a dry, sheltered but bright spot. Once you get new growth, plant the leaves in trays or pots filled with succulent potting mix and wait a few months until the roots have grown well into the pot. In my experience, propagating is best done in spring. Summer is usually also good, but be careful to protect your cuttings and leaves from strong sun as they burn easily. In climates where autumn and winter are mild, you can also propagate cuttings at the beginning of autumn. Personally, I stop propagating leaves by early to mid-summer so the plant has a chance to develop before winter. Leaves that are not yet developed are also more prone to dying if exposed to direct hot summer sun. Compactum is not too bad when it comes to pests but can still get attacked. Aphids are most common when inflorescences start to appear and can spread to the rosette and the pups. They spread fast and should be eradicated immediately after you spot them. Mealybugs are the biggest danger and very much like the compact sheltered growth of this plant as they can hide better. Watch out for white streaks, cottony sacs or malformed growth. Root mealybugs love root-bound plants and can go undetected as they live in the soil. I'd advise to check the roots at least once every growing season. Bigger pests such as snails, slugs, caterpillars and grasshoppers can attack too. If larger chunks go missing, they are likely to be the culprit. The inflorescence is really beautiful and a bit unusual. Flowers grow on tall stems above the foliage, forming an arch. More than one stem can grow simultaneously. About 5 red-orange flowers with bluish tips grow out of one stem. They are bell-shaped and pendulous. Here in Australia, it flowers in the last months of winter and throughout spring, but this can be different in other parts of the world. All Pachyphytum are said to be non-toxic and safe for humans, dogs, cats, other pets and livestock. However, I would not advise snacking on their leaves. And that is it for today. I hope this video was useful, and if you have anything to add or would like to ask a question, you can do so in the comments below. To learn more about succulents, hit the subscribe button or go to succulentgrowingtips.com. Thank you so very much for watching.